It's to the Daybreak Show Rock City 101.9 FM. It's time for Citizens Forum. Like I mentioned earlier, Aghemerio and I are right here. We'll be looking at an issue that concerns every one of us because this takes us straight to the oil and gas sector of the economy. You will recall that last year, May 2016, the federal government announced the removal of subsidy on fuel, or what you call pure motor spirit, otherwise known as petrol, and then they pegged the price at 145 naira per liter. This particular subsidy removal was made on May 11, on a Wednesday, just like today, 2016. Well, you may say that we are just a few days to making it a year. But that's let's say a year down the line. What has actually changed, or what have we benefited from that subsidy removal? Well, you will recall that the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Dr. Emmanuel Ibe Kajiko, actually premised the removal of subsidy on the fact that Nigerians, the citizens, were not benefiting anything meaningful from the payment of subsidy by the government, and so that became it became imperative for the government to remove the subsidy, and then they charted the way forward for the full deregulation of the downstream sector of the Nigerian petroleum industry so as to put an end to scarcity. Well, Nigerians may say that really after that subsidy removal, we've not had any serious case of fuel scarcity. Some may say that the era of jostling or hustling for fuel at filling stations, carrying jerry cans and generator tanks about to actually get fuel might be over. Well, that has been a thing of the past. But really, if you also look at one of the reasons for the subsidy removal, it was actually posited that this will force down the price of the product at 145 naira, uh, uh, which of course was corroborated with the what do you call it? The is it rejuvenation or rehabilitation or maintenance, turnaround maintenance of the nation's four refineries, so that they could produce fuel that we consume at least a percentage of it locally. The report, research has it that Nigeria, as it is, the four refineries produce about 10 million liters per day. And just last week, the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Dr. Ibe Kachiku, in a podcast on his Facebook page, rolled out development in his ministry. And he said that actually they inherited a purported daily consumption of 50 million liters per day. But they've been able to separate the wheat from the chaff and realize that that's a fraudulent consumption figure. And so they believe that it is not more than 35 million liters. So if the nation, so for the refineries, produce 10 million liters, that means we have a deficit of about 25 million liters imported. And of course, foreign exchange is also a factor. But why has the price of petroleum products that you and I buy has not reduced? Why are we still buying at 145 naira per liter? That's a very, very major issue, and that is why we're looking at this. So 1 year down the line after subsidy removal, what are the gains? What are the pains? Why is the price still stagnant at 145 naira per liter? Maybe Aghemerio will help me out.
How am I supposed to help you out, Tobi? We're in this together, truly.
Tell me why I have to buy 10 liters of petrol for 1,450.
We're in this together, and as it's pinching you, it's also pinching me. It's pinching every Nigerian out there, and we have been asking questions, and it seems all the questions have got no answers, or we get no answers to all the questions. But we won't stop asking questions until we're able to get answers to all these questions, because they must have answers. We must get answers to them. Now, the issue of price and petrol has dominated the public discourse for years in Nigeria, and we've had talks and subsidy removal, just like you've opened up on this. We've got talked about the regulation or appropriate pricing, and most Nigerians are yet, not yet conversant, even with pricing mechanism and the main determinants of fuel prices. Okay, but then, how do we get to know all of these? Maybe your guest in the studio will be able to enlighten us on most of these questions that have been raised this morning and many other questions that will be coming up shortly.
Yes, we have someone very qualified to look at this issue with us, someone who has somewhat kind of experience and interest in the industry, a business consultant, and of course, no stranger to these studios of Rock City FM. I'm talking of no one else but Alhaji Moruf Popoola. You're welcome once again.
Thank you so much.
Alhaji Moruf Popoola, when you look at it, 1 year down the line, subsidy removal, would you say that we've recorded more successes, more gains than pains?
Thank you so much. Well, I'd like to start by saying that I'm very happy to be here again, 1 year down the line, to look at the pains and gains of Nigerians as it affects the regulation and oil prices. Well, to me, there are several ways to look at it from, and I think that if we go back to see, to look at what the minister was actually addressing at that time, 1 year down the line, was majorly on scarcity and availability of the product. And I think that to an extent that has actually been resolved. We've gone away from the era where people had to stay hours, days.
Truly?
Yeah.
Truly.
You have to stay a lot of hours in the filling station, queuing for fuel at a very high cost. So I'll give it to the government on that angle. But on the masses side, we need more than that. This country has gone beyond us just having a pinch of what we desire, what we need to have. So if we look at in the entirety, I can say that I'll give the government kudos for making it available, but still we need to bring this price down. There's a lot of reason why this price must go down, because the life of the masses depend on this price to come down, and we have what it takes to make it come down. It's just that,
what are the things we have to make it come down?
well, it's saddening to see that 1 year from now, our refinery is just producing about 30% of our need, which, if you look at it, it is when we actually refine this product in Nigeria that this price can come down. We can challenge the government to say that we have all it takes, we're producing in our country, so you can't tell us that dollars is affecting anything. But if we're still importing about 60%, then we'll still have to cry foul. And we can remember that the cost of this product imported, the marketers have to source for dollars in the black market. And we know what dollars says in the last few years. It's not a justification to say that the price should remain that way, because we have a lot of demand and supply side that must play in it. But I want to say that the government need to do more. They need to come and tell us that, give us in specific terms when this refinery will go on and serve the masses. So my take here is that, fine, they've done a little to say that no more queues and we're not struggling, but beyond that, 1 year down the line, we need more than that.
All right. Apart from the issue of deregulation, the issue of pump price, and all that, let's also look at quickly at the issue being raised from time to time now that you get to filling stations and the meters have been adjusted. Okay, now what do you view, how do you view the illegal act of adjusting pump price by filling stations?
Well, that's another angle to it. The agency in charge of as DPR in charge of monitoring the quantity that we should get from our filling station is weak. And I must say that with all sincerity, that we don't have an agency that is monitoring efficiently in terms of the quantity of products we get from our filling station. We get filling stations and we have various measurements in our filling stations. But the question now is, the masses, are we actually talking about it? Are we asking question about, am I getting what I'm paying for? So we're not actually asking question, and nobody's actually looking at it. In the past, we used to have the DPR go to filling station and they seal up filling station that are under dispensing. We don't get that these days. We don't get to hear it often like we do in the past. And it's worrisome when I'm paying for a 20 liters and what I'm getting is less than 19 liters. That's about a 145 naira short of what I should get. So if I'm paying for high price in cost, I should get the right quantity of the product.
But then shouldn't we look at this from the angle of these filling stations, because they complain to you that the price they get the fuel and their overheads and all that is not even enough. So in a way, they have to find a way to set a balance and to strike a balance in all of this.
Well, that's just a statement as a businessman. I beg to differ to say that if what you're selling is you have to put an overhead, and because of the cost of receiving cost and all that is high, it doesn't actually, it's not a defense to say that the masses have to pay for it, though that is what is attainable here in Nigeria. But it's not a good defense for us. What we're saying is we should have a process, and an efficient one, that will look at what the masses is getting. Even the customer agency that looks at what service that you're getting and coming back to say that are we getting what we actually desire is sleeping, and the masses we're enjoying it. Now we're saying that even if you go to filling station and you get to some filling station and what you get is actually absurd, you find someone telling you that please buy what you want to buy and go. So it's as if we are also comfortable with that system. And until we have a system that checks itself to say beyond just selling in terms of price, we want good quality and also want good quantity, then we'll have it holistic. But for now, we need to talk about it more. And I give kudos to you guys here for bringing it up again, and let us talk about it and ask ourselves, are we doing well? Is it what we actually need? Is this what is good for us?
All right. Now, when we came to the point of 145 naira per liter, all right, the thought was that because of the deregulation, there was going to be a crash in the prices or in the price, and we get to some filling stations and it could be at 130, 120, or maybe 110, who knows. But that is not happening yet, and it's becoming worrisome. What do you think about this development and how far we've come in this?
Well, I think that the reason behind this can be said to be because of the exchange rate. To me, we want to hide under the pretense to say that the dollar rate went so high and sourcing for it was so difficult. And I think that government is now coming up with process at which marketers can get the dollars and buy this product at a good price. I need to also call our attention that there's some filling stations that are selling below 145. At the time, there were some filling stations that were selling at 140, 141, and 142. But beyond that, all we're saying here is we need to do a cross-analysis of this and ask ourselves that why is this thing not going down? Now the dollar has gone down against Naira, and we're saying that the price of this item that you use dollar to buy should also go down. So we need people to talk more about it and ask to give us a scale, because there was a chart that was brought then to say this is the landing cost, this is the service charge and all that. We stopped seeing that, and we need to ask question, what is now the landing cost of this product? So if we ask questions, and the government will now come and tell us that the dollar price has affected the price of the fuel, but now this is what we have as a landing cost, because then it was a regular routine, I think about quarterly or so. They were always coming up to tell us, okay, this is going to be the current price, but that has stopped. What made it stop is what we should ask.
All right, now, one major issue which Dr. Ibe Kachiko, the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, raised recently when he was invited to the House of Reps Petroleum Product Pricing Review Committee, is the issue of our capacity to stop importing refined petroleum, which of course affects the price that we are complaining about now. No doubt, it has been agreed that the technology in the nation's refineries are almost archaic. But beyond that, one major issue is that how can we, in the short, mid-term, and long-term, move away completely from importing refined petroleum products, where these issues of landing costs, transport costs, and all that, and the issue of foreign exchange comes in.
Well, I think I heard it in the news that government is planning to say by 2019 no more importation of fuel. That's a long time for me. If we put this as a businessman, there's a lot of small refineries that we can assemble in less than 30 days, and off we go. We start to refine. But government still has a hand in all of this. That they're eating their cake and they're having it. We want government to say that we're hands off. Maybe when the bill finally pass and we now see the process at which people can now say, as a businessman, I want to have my own refineries. But the secret is, without us, if we want this price to go down and we want to talk about it, then we have to produce. If we don't produce and we're still importing, then we have people that will run behind and say, oh, it's because of dollar, it's because of transportation and knowledge and all that. But if we produce in Nigeria, let anyone come out and tell us what is the cost of production.
Dr. Ibekachiku also posited that about 60 licenses were approved and given out or awarded, as it were, by the past administration of Dr. Goodluck Jonathan. And after that license were given out, none of the businessmen who got the licenses were able to even put machines on site. Nothing was done. So that means 6 licenses lying in the hands of people just there, maybe in a file somewhere, or just gathering dust on a shelf somewhere. How can we simplify the process? Okay, first let me find out from you as a businessman. Is it that expensive for you to set up a refinery? I'm not talking of the kind of refinery that Dangote is building in Lagos. That is the biggest in Africa, so to speak. But is it too expensive? Can we make it easy or easier for businessmen to maybe come together? Let's say a group of 10 people, just like we did in the power sector. Okay, you companies come together, 10 companies. Let's say how much you have. Okay, you take this license, and then you have a joint venture, so to speak.
Well, inexpensive, you want to talk about the cost. And there's no cost that is expensive provided you can afford it. But I must say that the reason why we don't have those that got the license to operate is because government is not helping. In doing business as a local company, there's a lot of things that I should benefit. If you tell me that you want me to play the game of refinery and you're going to sell the crude oil to me, the problem here is, how much are you selling the crude oil to me? As someone that wants to make everything work in Nigeria, we need to localize our process. Once we see that, okay, for us to have good refineries working in Nigeria, a lot of things has to put down. Beyond saying, okay, if we're taking it to out of Nigeria, this is how much it costs. We can localize it and say, this is for our people. This is what we want our people to benefit from. Then the cost of a barrel of crude oil for us in Nigeria will have to be looked at. It's not to say that, okay, still the process that we sell to foreigners is what we're going to sell to Nigerians. And there's a lot of things that plays around it beyond just giving licenses. there's tax involved. There's importation of this equipment that has to bring, and you have to clear it from the port authority. There's a lot of things that even the place where you have to set these things, it's too cumbersome. The process of getting this thing to run is not that easy as we look at it, because it's not just to have refineries. You can assemble small mini refineries that will come on from the high sea, and in less than 30 days you have coupled all this thing together.
Now there's a plan, or there's a roadmap that is being developed that will simplify construction of refineries, modular refineries, especially the Niger Delta region. The government is planning to, move people from the illegal activities of the creeks to legal business activities, whereby these people, if they are militants or militant leaders, ex-militants, or what have you, pirates, can come together and own this business legally after government must have simplified the process. Do you think this modular refinery model of refining petroleum in the Niger Delta, especially as it is a very volatile region, can work and help us force down the price of our petrol?
Yes, it can, and it will. Because even without having these modular refineries, we have some crude way at which our people refine products and sell diesel to us in the past, though government had to go in there and get rid of them. And but the point here is that place safe enough? Is it safe enough to say I want to put a modular refineries, and tomorrow the place is taken over by this guy? So it's not about just having a modular refinery. It's about a lot of things put together to say that, can I do it? If I do it here, won't there be problem? And I think that government should look inward, and well, I hope that if this bill passes, a lot of things that is in the bill would need to be looked at, because it talks about the communal, it talks about the individual, the masses, and the role the government is going to play in all of this. But it's the way out. You don't have to have the big refineries like Dangote has. You can have a modular, very small one. People come together. They can. They've done it in the past in a crude way. Now we're saying that make that environment conducive, and you have people put their money into the business. That's it.
Now, one other issue which I think is oftentimes neglected, and that is the issue of quality of the refined product itself. How do we ensure quality? Because I've oftentimes heard people say that they bought they bought petrol in a particular filling station, and then the mechanic told them that was what messed up the engine, spoiled this, spoiled that. How do we put an end to this?
It goes back to what we're saying. If there's no check, if there's no agency to look at this, if there's nobody looking at the quality of this product, we'll just get ourselves into mess. All we're saying is we can't all do it. We need some people that will go and do a random check. This fuel is coming from the depot. And what it means is that we need the agency that does the quality analysis of this to be on top of their game. Not because of anything, but because we want the best for ourselves. But when the agency themselves are also collaborators in all of this, and they'll tell you if it's for the masses, then let them go take it. So we need to have an agency that will duly sit on the job and make sure that the quality of this thing are done. It is only in this part of the country that we take all sorts of things and we sit and say, provided it is available, it doesn't care if it affects the health or not. So we need all of us to actually ask questions and ask the government, what are you doing to us?
Now, it is no longer news that oil and gas have been the mainstay of Nigerian economy for the last 50 years, and these mineral resources have indeed contributed vast percentage of the nation's revenue. Now, from your own perspective, do you think the sector has gotten the necessary attention from successive government, especially the present government?
Well, I must say that they've gotten attention. They've really gotten attention. And in fact, it's the attention that they get that makes us leave all other sectors. because it's more like a free income for us in Nigeria. It's more like this is so easy for us to run. So they have the attention in terms of operation, but in terms of a process of getting the right thing to the masses, they've not gotten it to the best scale, as I can say here.
So what do they need to do to get to that point?
Well, first, we have the human factor in all that we say in Nigeria. It's for Nigerians that are put in place of authority to say that I want to give my best in what I do, irrespective of who is running the business with me. So in the entirety of it all, it's for us as a Nigerian to ask ourselves, am I doing my best in what I do? And if we still find the kind of people that will run, then everything will still be the same. All we chase in this country is money, and service and quality is put on the other side.
Now, another issue I want us to quickly look at is the issue of the Niger Delta. Well, not about the issues being, raising up there now, but one of the major problems that sector is facing is oil spill, which has destroyed the lands, farms, rivers of the host communities. Now, the country is mulling new enforcement measures for oil spills in the country, and of course, the law, if passed, would slap operators with $1,300 per barrel fine for spills. Now, how lasting do you think that solution will be if the law, because the law ought to have been passed even by now, but it's still there, still pending. But if it's passed, how lasting do you think that solution is?
Well, I think the law is just for us to have a guide, for us to have a system that will check to say that this doesn't happen. In the past, it's a free-for-all. But if this law is being passed, then it's going to be like a check. But it's not just to pass the bill. It's the enforcement that matters. If you pass...
Which has been a major problem.
Exactly. It's the enforcement that will make this thing work. Because even if the law is there, the international law for pollution is there. We all see it, we read it, but implementing it is where the problem lies. Because it's not that government is not seeing all of this. We go there, we see it, the community is crying foul all the time to say that you're killing the people. But what do you get from it? Some people go behind you and they get money from these guys, and the rest is history. So it is the enforcement of this law that will get us away from all of this mess.
All right, enforcement, which is very, very key. Quickly, before I think Tobi wants to ask a question.
No, go ahead.
Okay, but before you do that, let me also ask this. Another problem is crude oil and petroleum products theft. Okay, I guess that has reduced a bit now. Okay, but that is not to say that it's totally taken off. Now, this has become a multi-billion naira business that is undertaken by both the high and the mighty in the society. Now, you may ask me, who are these people? Let's leave that for another day. Now, how can the government stop the unprecedented level of theft from the pipelines?
Well, aside from the ones that we can't actually know, the high sea is being occupied and monitored by an agency in Nigeria. So what we're saying is, this is not something that will go to the thin air and you find out that we don't know how it escaped. It's a process. A ferry or a ship that comes into Nigeria to take crude oil and leave without the agency monitoring our coast, saying that they know nothing about it, is still about the human factor in Nigeria. So if our people are actually saying this is a common heritage that needs to be protected, we don't have to have this kind of problem. Thank you for saying that now it has reduced, because focus is on it. A lot of things is going on in there. Government is giving the naval people a lot of support to make sure that this coast, the joint force are there on the high sea. But beyond this, we need to do more. We need to give them more gadgets and more equipment and make them accountable for every loss that we see. If someone is being made accountable for every loss, everybody will sit tight. But in this part of the world, what we see is the might is right. And until we have a government that will say that going forward from here, you are in charge of this coast. If everything gets away from this coast, you'll be held responsible. Everybody sees it and that it's working. Then it gets to reduce. And there's a lot of technology for us that we can use to monitor this without us sitting there in the coast, and we'll still get our result.
Okay, let me ask you, how soon do you think we'll be having a complete review of petroleum prices that will force down the current price?
Well, the first thing is to get this bill passed. Let it pass. It has passed the third reading, as we hear. Let the government consent to it. Let us have a formation of this bill having a light of the day, and let us have to see it operate. But beyond that, if the government now says that we want to be open to our people, and what we saw last year, giving a review of the costing and all that published by all, continues, and we get it to hear it as it is with sincerity, then it won't take a long time before we see this comes up, because Nigerians are living on this product. This is what our life depends on. And if this is what our life depends on, the government should take it as a business and not just a favor. It is not a favor for us. It is something that would make our life better, because we don't have any other option. So government to take it as a business, and if they do with sincerity, in no sooner time we will get out of it.
Are you saying that if this PIB bill is not passed, we might not be having any kind of circle as regards prices of petroleum products?
Then we'll have to revert back to our usual ways of doing things, for government to use their power to enact a particular system. But this is a system that runs beyond an individual. It's a system that will control itself and say, this is where I belong and that's what you need to do. There's a lot of conflict between the government agencies, and that alone is affecting the business to take up. But if this is being separated, and we have everybody knowing what they need to do and how they need to do it, I'm sure the process will drive itself gradually to a point where we're going, for the business people to take over, and government to monitor and make sure that what they're giving us is the best, comes to play. I'm sure gradually we'll ease off this.
Now, that's an agency saddled with that responsibility, talking about the PPPRA, that's the Petroleum Products Pricing Regulatory Agency. How independent is this PPPRA when it comes to having a very workable template in regulation of prices of petroleum products?
To me, PPRA should be independent, but their operation still lies with some arm of government that would hold it down and say you're going beyond your bound. If you want that agency to run independently, then you need a bill to get it to that level. But for now, it's still under one whole body, looking at it to say, no, I am the head of this unit. I'm only giving you a tranche of it to run with. So we should have them work separately from every other of the agency and independent to a large extent.
All right, so if you just joined us, so it's Citizens Forum on the Daybreak Show, and what we're looking at this morning is development in the oil and gas sector, specifically focusing on the price of premium motor spirit, PMS, otherwise known as petrol. 1 year down the line of subsidy removal, why are we still buying petrol for 145 naira a litre? We'll go on this short break that will accommodate the national news at 10 o'clock. After the national news, we will come back and continue our discussion. And you will also have the floor to actually participate and air your opinion and views. We have at the studio a business consultant, Alhaji Moruf Popoola. In the meantime, you can start sending your tweets and messages. On Twitter, our Twitter handle remains at RockCityFM. Just tweet us your questions or contributions. Our short code remains 32120. Type rock, ROCK, leave a space, type your message, include your name, and send to 32120. Stay with us, we'll be back. Thank you for keeping faith with us, and of course for still tuning in to Rock City 101.9 FM. It's the Daybreak Show, the Citizens Forum. We're looking at 1 year after subsidy removal, the price of premium motor spirit, also known as petrol, pegged at 145 naira per liter, precisely on May 13, 2016. We have in the studio a business consultant, Alhaji Moruf Popoola. We would like to throw open the studio lines for you to call in and also participate this morning. You can also use the short code 32120. All you have to do is to type rock ROCK, leave a space, type your message, include your name, and send to 32120. The numbers to call are 0809-868-7344.
The masses. It's not the masses alone. No. Other people buy it, not the masses. And anybody who can phone into Rock City, who come to Rock City to give a talk, is not the masses anymore. We are an elite. Please, all the masses are suffering. The elites are also suffering because we belong to the elite. We don't belong to the masses. That was my yes. And also, sir, you are talking of modular refinery. We are underestimating the value of the Nigerian petroleum market, sir. Modular refineries will not solve a problem except you have it in every local government. It will not. Because we consume a lot. Don't forget, our economy is on petroleum. We use it to banks, we use it for soft drinks, we use it for hospital and all that. So modular refinery will be a drop in the ocean, except you can establish it in all the local government areas in the district. And you also made a comment on something like people are supposed to check the pump prices. They check whether they're giving us dispensing fuel very well in a pumping station. Sir, all the people in DPR or what they have filling stations, sir, so they cannot check. So forget about it. They can't check. We have a way of checking, sir. The way we know when we are having a good pumping machine is when you see a lot of taxi drivers in a particular station. That is a good station. Go down there. That's the way we have found. That's a crude way of knowing. There's a particular filling station in Nigeria where nobody goes there again because we know it was cheating. But finally, sir, the truth of the matter is corruption. Why should you give the refinery license to an ambassador? Onyaku, the former Commonwealth ambassador, has the refinery license for refinery. What is he going to do with it? There are Nigerians who, if they give them the license, they can build it. But they are not giving it to the right people, sir. They are giving it to political parties. They want some people like that. That's why they have the problem. It's not as if because they say anything. There are Nigerians who can have, if they have the license today, in the next 6 months they will start doing something. But they don't have it. Corruption, sir. Corruption. That is the issue, not any petroleum bill. Which one is petroleum, Nigerian petroleum industry bill? When we don't obey the constitution, what is the meaning of that bill? We don't obey the constitution, so we common bill and all that. That one, they can't change us.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello?
Hello?
Yes, good morning.
Hello? Good morning, my sister. Good morning, Tobi.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, our first person in the house.
Good morning.
Yeah, my name is Honorable Henry Jaji. I'm calling from the People's Parliament in Jaguno, Abeokuta. I've listened to you very well. You have given us a very good submission. But as far as I'm concerned, I think corruption is what is really affecting Nigeria. Take, for instance, a common petroleum attendant in a petrol station knows how to cheat you, knows how to cut corners and make money. I don't like the idea of the federal government demolishing some illegal modular refineries that were found in the areas of Niger Delta the other sometimes ago. They shouldn't have demolished them. They should have probably taken them over. Taking them over, that legalize that illegality. Tell those people, don't worry, this thing now belongs to NMPC. It's now Nigeria's own. So that the idea of giving a huge amount of money or dollars to importers to start going to refine our petroleum crude oil, so that bringing them back to Nigeria will be a thing of the past. I'm telling you, look, take for instance, what they should have done is what they are now coming back to. They now said they want to, build modular refineries in all states. Why not? If not, to have even allow those ones to stay there, take them over, legalize them, tell those people government is going to be monitoring you. I mean, it will reduce that, crude oil theft in that area. There won't be much problem. I still want to believe that the DPRS or whatever you are saying that goes around have not been doing an effective job monitoring most of all these petrol stations that we have. I know God will help Nigeria. God will still help us and we'll get it right. We'll do this issue. God bless Nigeria. God bless the people. Let me allow other people to call.
Hello? Hello? Good morning.
Good morning, man.
Good morning.
My name is Godfrey from Abiawa.
All right, Godfrey.
Before we buy a liter to say 95 naira, but now it's 145. Formerly, I paid 3,000 naira to my village, but today, 5,000 naira before I can reach my village. I don't know the aim of increasing the petrol. They are not increasing the worker salary. You cannot buy it in the market. What is the aim of increasing the fuel? We are done now. They increase the fuel so that APC members will see the element is true. That is why they increase the fuel. No another thing other than that.
All right, thank you, Godfrey. Hello? Okay, that's another dropped call there. Hello, good morning. Hello? Hello?
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes. Good morning, Tobi. Good morning, Aghemerio. Good morning,
Good
Alhaji.
morning. Good morning.
Yes, my name is Tunde from Abeokuta. Yes, you see, we are still buying petrol at 145 naira per liter because of corruption that persists in high places, especially the petroleum sector. I am a strong believer of Buhari that corruption crusade. But there are some high-power brokers scattered across the country with specification in Abuja who are doing everything to frustrate the success of the crusade. But they will fail in Jesus' name, by God's grace. And their secrets will be exposed as predicted by Pastor Adebayo of End Time Class Ministry, in Abeokuta. You see, our guest was right. He was quite right. Let us have a review of the chart and indices. When dollar was close to 500 naira, naira was close to 500 to a dollar. With increase in the quantity of crude oil and price, we were buying at 145 naira per liter. I mean the pump price of petrol. Now that naira has appreciated with increase in the production of crude oil and price, the pump price ought to have reduced drastically. But what is happening? God has answered our prayer. We have the responsibility to join hands with the government and flush out these corrupt people in our society. And we are going to do that by God's grace. So our guest, what is the way out from what I've said? Thank you.
All right, thank you.
And also from Yumi Da Vinci, I suppose that modular refineries should be encouraged, especially in Niger Delta. 5,000 to 10,000 liters capacity is not bad. And I agree that government should grant tax exemption for refineries in purchase of certain equipment, not cars though. It is in my own opinion that we should be patient. When Dangote and O&O refineries come up next year, prices will come down. And still coming from Yami Da Vinci, consumers know fuel stations that are forthright and sell wholesome fuel. I'll never buy from that station okay? I'm not going to mention that place now. All right, thank you so much, Yami Da Vinci, for this tweet.
Thank you so much. Well, I'll start with Mr. Emeka in terms of price increase. And I want to say that all the callers have actually said it right. I thank Dr. Nkom for your presentation. I think that I quite agree with you that corruption is actually the cause of all this problem that we're addressing here. Because if we say that we want a process to run, then that process will run efficiently without corruption. So, but if we still have our corrupt practices running around our agencies, then the shady deals will continue and our people will still run foul of it. It is true to say that some filling stations are actually selling, the quantity is good, and that's where we find the taxi drivers. But what we're saying is we can still get it better than what we have currently. That we're getting what we have now doesn't say that is the best, but we want more than this. We want our people to have the right quantity to the value or the price that they pay for. And that I agree with you on that too. Mr. Kayode, how to transform the oil and gas sector? The simple way is to say that we need to have local refineries to work, our agencies to be proactive enough, looking at what we need as the masses. But as Dr. Unkom says that there's some elite, I agree. We're all masses of this in this country, and we're all suffering from this menace. But come to look at it, how would we say that refineries will only come to light in 10 years? How long does it take to have the refineries that we had in the past? It didn't take up to 10 years, and technology has shown, and we're seeing that we don't need to have refineries to run and to build refineries for 10 years. Why I'm insisting on the modular refineries is because of the ease in accessing it, the ease at which we want to assemble it. If we have modular refineries to work in states, not local government, states, at first it will increase our capacity beyond what we have currently. And in doing that, it's going to make this price come down. Then we can now say, going forward for the future, we'll have a bigger refineries. But for now, because it's going to take a long of time to have the big refineries. But for the modular refineries, what it takes is for you to buy it, put it on a ferry, a ship, and bring it to Nigeria and assemble. It takes a little time to get. At least let's get out of this price thing for now. Then we can now think of having a bigger refineries that will make an lasting solution to Nigeria. So I also agree with Mr. Larry Jaji that corruption is also what is affecting us. And we cannot outrightly say that government is wrong by demolishing the illegal refineries. We cannot say because something is giving us a so-called and it's bad, then we have to let it go on. See, this illegal refineries does not have what it takes to give us the kinds of quality of refined product that we need in Nigeria. What we're saying is that if we say that these illegal refineries should run, are they up to the standard? Would they not give us health hazard? And that's where the issue of pollution will also come into play. So it's not that to have illegal refineries to leave it there. No. What we're saying is that those illegal refineries are also not running up to the standard that is required. Though they are performing a function, but they're not running up to the standard that is required. And because they're not into the standard, then they need to let it go. So, but the solution here is we need to produce more locally in Nigeria. Our agencies must run efficiently and effectively without being corrupt. And I don't know, I don't know why we have people in government and they say they have filling stations. They're not expected to have that while they're in service. You're not supposed to have another job aside from what you are being paid for. But you see, in Nigeria, it's so saddening that you find people that are supposed to be a check and balancing of a particular issues being responsible for bringing that same system down. And it is appalling. But God help Nigeria.
All right.
Increase in web rights and establishment of the proposed legalization of the modular refineries. Am I right? Hello?
Yes, we are with you.
Hello? Tobi, are you there?
Yes, we are with you.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, I don't know whether you have a guest in the house. Anyway, this is my take. Because due to the neglect of our refinery by past government, that is why we are in this quagmire. Our refinery is now in comatose. Nobody is doing any turnaround maintenance on our refinery. Just because most of this money back, they have refineries in the diaspora. They believe that importing fuel is more, lucrative and mass-watering than, having a refinery here. That is why it is intentional. Professor Ita Take, the Presidential Committee on Anti-Corruption, he said it, that it is is those people that are behind, that are against Buhari government that increased this fuel price gigantically beyond the reach of the common man. He said it loud and clear. Yes, and I want to go with it. Some people are using the sickness of Mr. President to put us under bondage. And thank God, the government of the day is waking up to its responsibility by reviewing the template of the price of fuel. It's a welcome development. It is commendable, laudable, and I want to give it to the president. Let them do it immediately so that the price of fuel can come down. And talking about the modular refinery, to me, it is applaudable, it is laudable. It's a welcome development. Number one, it is going to curb militancy in the Niger Delta. Number two, it is going to curb youth restiveness in the Niger Delta. I did my own investigation about this modular refinery. Most people that engage in this modular refinery, they are richer than most of these NNPC workers. Go and confirm it, Tobi. Go and do your investigative journalism. So what are we talking about? So it's a welcome development.
The way out of this is, like I've said before now, that it's to start with the modular refineries. And the reason why this is important is because it's easy for us to assemble and get started. And in the future, we can now look at the long time to have a big refineries and give it to anyone. If we have modular refineries scattered around, there's high possibility of the price of this commodity to come down. As for Mr. Oaikhenan, the lifespan of refineries for what we have in Nigeria is obsolete. It does not meet up the capacity of the production. And because of that, because these days things are changing, technology is changing, and because of that, we cannot run the kind of machine that we have then and still put it into use now. Its efficiency has gone down and effectiveness is also affected. So for the DPR to have a refineries, for me, it's a no, because they're actually agency to control the process of this business. So for you to now tell them to have refineries, it's like giving them all they'll take. So what will they be doing? How will they control the business? So the way out of here is because of what we have found ourselves. If government wants to get out of, if we all want to get out of this problem, it's for us to start small by having modular refineries around and give it a timeline where the major refineries will come upstream and allow this business to be a business and not politicize it.
All right, let's take a few more calls and that will wrap it up for us on Citizens Forum this morning. Everybody, your reaction and submission.
Well, I'd like to thank all the callers and actually got it right, and it's actually what we've been saying since morning. And my take today is, like I've been saying since morning, is to say that we need a proactive government and we need a reactive citizen. We do not wait for things to go back before we react. Bekachuku came, said all that, and from that day, after we got it to the point where you go to the filling station and you can get your fuel, we're relaxed. People are no more talking about it. Maybe if we've been talking about it,
since we've accepted it.
Exactly. If we've been talking more about it and issues have been brought up to the front burner to ask, look, when are we getting this price down? Maybe the government will now see that, okay, the masses are asking questions and we need to give them answers. So we need to have more actions by our people to ask more questions about issues and to go back to history to bring ourselves to where we are today. Kerosene is where it is today because there's no deregulation of kerosene, and that's what we're saying. Once government still gets its hand into this business, then we will not get anywhere. When diesel was deregulated, we have an easy access. When PMS this is what we have. But kerosene for the masses is the most expensive product to buy. So I think we should have a full deregulation of all these prices. Let government be in the agencies where they look at the price, formulations, and manage the quality, and the masses will be the businessmen to run it.
Thank you very much for honoring our invitation, Alhaji Moruf Popoola. We appreciate your contributions this morning. And thank you for calling in, those who called the studio lines, those who sent messages via the short code, those who followed us on Twitter and Facebook. We appreciate every one of you. And those who just sat down, whatever they are, quietly listening to the show. Thank you for keeping faith with Rock City FM. This was the end of the show for this Wednesday. We'll join us again tomorrow, Thursday, for another wonderful package. I am Tobi Joseph.